Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. I know cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Right now, it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking time for hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leitch. You are listening to the live broadcast of Time for Hemp all around the world on AmericanFreedomRadio.com and on AM/FM stations and some parts of America. I want to give a big shout out to all of my friends in Canada and say thank you to KDK Distributors for being nice enough to keep us loud, proud, and strong, and to also send our love to Head Shop Canada. We certainly appreciate your support as well. Before we kick off the day, I want to let people know there have been a lot of people who have been freaking out about our archives, and we've taken care of that now. We want to let people know that our archives are back under control, and you can find past shows, but you have to go to timeforhemp.com in order to find the archives. American Freedom Radio stopped doing their archives in June of this year, and a lot of our audience members began freaking out because they couldn't find the show. And a lot of people work all day, and when they come home at the end of the day, they wanted to be able to listen to our show. And they couldn't because they couldn't find it in the archives. So American Freedom Radio is doing a lot of updates and doing a lot of changes, and right now they don't have the ability to keep those updates on their website. So those of us who are hosting here on the big network have found other ways to make certain that our audience members never miss our shows. You can now go to timeforhemp.com, and as soon as you log in to timeforhemp.com, the most current broadcast begins to autoplay. There are hyperlinks there that direct you to the current archives, and then we are uploading all the past archives from AmericanFreedomRadio.com into our website and into iTunes, and those will be completely up to date within a few weeks. Right now, the past updated archives on Time for Hemp are somewhere towards the end of 2011, and within another couple of months, we'll have all of 2012 and 2013 loaded up. In the meantime, all of the programs from August 1st forward can be found in our archives as well. You just go to timeforhemp.com and you just read a little bit and you'll be able to figure it out. So for all those people who love the show so much and like going to the archives and finding the programs to enjoy, to download and share with their friends and pass around on social sites so people can learn how important it is to end prohibition, we have taken care of that, and we want to thank you for your patience. American Freedom Radio is doing a lot of updates and changes, and they will be growing stronger and bigger in the future. But right now, one of the things that they are not really able to mess with, again, are the archives. So we just kind of like wish them all the best that they can do on all the rebuilding. They are a brilliant team, and we appreciate all their work on raising the voice of freedom. And we send them love. And just know that if you want to find out anything about Time for Hemp, you just need to go to timeforhemp.com. With that said, we're kicking off the show today. It is Healthy Mondays, and on Healthy Mondays, we have Mary Lynn and Al Byrne as our joint hosts from Patients Out of Time. Mary Lynn and Al, how are you doing this lovely day in paradise?
Oh, we're doing fine in paradise. And again, thank you for inviting Patients Out of Time to be here, to invite our guests to enlighten everybody. And I would like to point out, to amplify what was just said, that these archives are super important. There's a lot of incredibly good information on it. And one of the best pieces of information so far is the two-hour medical cannabis special. that the American Freedom Radio and Casper put on this past week. People should use that as a tool. Casper's edited. It's a real good edit. And it's got some incredible information. It's information that your politicians, your doctors, your nurses should all know. And in that regard, today we do have a guest, and I will let Mary Lynn introduce her to you.
Today we've got Dr. Michelle Sexton on, naturopathic physician, background as an herbalist. I guess Michelle was a midwife as well. But I believe coming to us today from San Diego area. Michelle, are you there?
Yes, I am here in paradise.
They're in paradise. Well, we're here in hot, humid, hazy Virginia. It's been very wet this year. Could you, Michelle, thanks so much for joining us. Could you tell the audience a little bit, kind of explain the difference of a naturopathic physician and in my world, why I think that's a perfect person to talk about cannabis as medicine?
Well, to talk about that, I just wanted to give a little bit of medical history in North America. There was a rather large movement from the middle of the 1800s up until about 1939 that became known as the eclectic physicians. And their philosophies were really rooted in ancient healing traditions from the Greeks, for example. And around this time, there was some reform going on because what was called at the time heroic medicine that was creeping into more of the medical schools of the time were using things such as mercury, lead, and arsenic for healing purposes. And some reformers were starting to see, that these were actually poisons and were harming people, and were looking for other non-toxic ways. And, looking to ancient practices, found that botanical medicines were the answer. And so actually, even from the early times when the first pilgrims arrived here, they also were very interested in natural healing. And I think something we often overlook are things that we maybe had in common with the Native Americans. And part of that was the botanical, all of the botanical world. And so the eclectics that were in practice, by the mid-1800s, they were really drawing heavily also from the Native American tradition for healing practices. And this was really, it was widely embraced. It included something called physiomedicine, homeopathy. There were a lot of different sects of medical doctors out there. But what began to change was medical schools started accepting people on their basis to pay instead of people who were feeling called as healers, I think, was part of what was going on. And eventually the eclectic, I think there was actually an organized movement to get rid of them. They had expanded quite a bit, but by 1939, the last eclectic medical school closed. So naturopathic medicine, which is distinct from homeopathy. We learn homeopathy, but it's only one of the treatment modalities that we study. And so it's much broader than homeopathy. And we really grew a lot out of this eclectic medical school training and apprenticeship model and embracing a lot of the natural healing methods that were out there from different countries. So today, naturopaths are very formally trained in accredited on-site schools where you go and enroll in a 4-year course of study that mimics conventional medical education, in that our first 2 years are almost identical with regard to studying gross human anatomy, physiology, biochemistry. All the basic sciences are the same, and then where we sort of depart is where we start learning our clinical training, our underlying philosophy of treating the whole person, treating the cause, not just treating symptoms, working with the individual's own healing power to bring health back to the person using natural means.
How are you different than a DO?
I'm not really that familiar with osteopathic medical history. I know that there are many osteopaths that have sort of been co-opted into conventional medicine and do their residency through conventional medical hospitals. And there are also still out there what some people refer to as old-time osteopaths that I think are still more in alignment with some of these natural practices. So they also relied heavily on, what we typically think of as chiropractic manipulation, but it's osteopathic manipulation as part of their, strongly relying on that as part of their healing modality. And we also study that same manipulation techniques in our school. It's very individual. Naturopaths tend to get drawn to different modalities and end up, some really specialize in manipulation and physiomedicine, and others really specialize more maybe in what we call a green pharmacy, where they're recommending a lot of capsules and pills and supplements. So you can find a really large spectrum with naturopaths, and I suspect it's similar also with osteopaths.
Well, it seems like you have chosen the latter path, have you not? The herbal way to go?
Well, I don't know if you could say I chose it. It seems to have chosen me. When I was very young, I got interested in plants as medicine, which was sort of ironic because I had a grandfather who was an MD and a surgeon. And so as a child, I went to the pediatrician and got antibiotics and, had conventional medical treatment for all of the common childhood ailments. But as I got older, by the time I was 18, I was really an autodidact of botanical medicine. Didn't really formally pursue education until I was a bit older. Once I had my children and realized I really wasn't confident in that medicine for my own children, I was just using botanical medicine on my own children and ended up becoming certified as an herbalist. I eventually became a midwife, so used a lot of herbalism in my midwifery practice. And then I went back to school because my driving passion or question was, what makes plants medicine? I had no concept of chemistry at all. I had never learned any chemistry. I knew some biology from high school, but I went back to school to study plants and did a horticulture degree at Texas Tech University and had a fabulous instructor, Dr. Ellen Peffley, who turned me on to phytochemistry. And it just was like a huge doorway opening for me to understand plant chemicals, and how they interacted with the human body became my fascination. And then that's what led me to go to naturopathic medical school, sort of extending on my midwifery practice and, wanting to be able to care for more than just the childbearing year.
Well, that's great. I mean, we all kind of stumble into this somehow, I think. Very few of us set out to be cannabis experts 20, 30 years ago, but here we are. And what brought you to cannabis?
Yeah, I like your term, stumble in. I often think of it as serendipity because people ask me, how did you get to study cannabis? And the funny thing is that I never thought to do that. I experimented in the 70s, and then it sort of dropped off the radar for me for several decades. And I had gotten involved in a biomedical research program in my undergraduate. It started out studying native echinacea, and that project really fell apart, and a chemistry professor took me under his wing and gave me a different project. It was an honors research project for my final year. and it was looking at inflammation in glioblastoma or brain tumors. So it was a complete diversion from looking at plant chemicals. But it serendipitously led me, when I got to Bastille, I wanted to continue this research. We were looking at a protein that was upregulated in brain tumors called TSPO, and I wanted to culture a specific type of cell that's in the brain called microglia to do some experiments on, and I didn't know if you could culture them. So I went to Google, I typed in microglia, and the first hit that I got was the lab of Dr. Nefi Stella in Seattle, and that's where I was in school at Bastille University. And, emailed him or called him, and he says, yeah, come over, I'll teach you how to grow microglia cells. And then, as things progressed, I learned that his lab studies the endogenous cannabinoid signaling system and its role in neuroinflammation. And as time went on, I worked in his lab as a pre-doc, a work-study student, but also under NIH grants, and finished the project on CSPO, and then we turned to looking at the expression of the cannabinoid 2 receptor, what we call CB2, and its role in neuroinflammation. And so that was kind of how I fell into studying the cannabinoid system. I went on to write a proposal for a postdoctoral fellowship. So once I graduated, I got the award from NIH through the National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine and did a 3-year postdoc in Dr. Stella's lab. So I was really just immersed in the world of cannabinoid pharmacology. And as I was nearing the end, I realized how much I knew. And then there was this, burgeoning movement of medical cannabis happening outside the university where I sat every day. And I thought, wow, this is really interesting. I love plants. Cannabis is a plant. It's being used widely out there. Now I feel like I really know intimately how it works in the body.
Well, I got to jump in here because one thing I know how intimately it works is our commercial break. So we're going to pay our bills, and then we're going to come back and pick up where we left off here at Time for Hemp.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org. Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com. Green Glass Clean is a 100% green liquid cleaner that is designed to wash the toughest resin stains from pipes, bongs, and hookahs. Green Glass Clean is safe to use on glass, plastic, ceramic, wood, and about anything you smoke from, so you can enjoy the full flavor of your smoke. Green Glass Clean is easy to use. Just dilute a small amount, then soak, rinse, and dry. Green Glass Clean will gently dissolve any stuck-on crud from your pipe, keeping your smoking gear fresh and clean. Order Green Glass Clean at greenglassclean.com. And for those stubborn, hard-to-reach resin spots that just won't come off, there is the Gak Attack Brush Pack. Gak Attack Brush Pack keeps your smoking gear clean and looking shiny. The tough yet gentle nylon bristles scrub and scrape buildups and residue with ease. Wire-braided handle bends for easy maneuvering without damaging your smoking apparatus. Using the Gak Attack Brush Pack with Green Glass Clean will keep your pipes, bongs, and hookahs clean. Order your Gak Attack Brush Pack by going to gakattack.com. It's time for hemp prohibition to end. The cannabis legalization movement has long waited to have congressional or Senate hearings to present the failure of drug prohibition, medical benefits of cannabis, and more. Time for Hemp is tired of waiting for the cannabis movement to get such an invitation and has organized this 5 2-hour conference series special. Time for Hemp will be hosting live specials to produce a global cannabis summit with some of the most brilliant minds and amazing leaders of the industrial hemp and medical cannabis movement. This presentation will be broadcasted live on American Freedom Radio, online, AM/FM stations across America, and on Roku, and will be archived at American Freedom Radio and on iTunes. During each commercial-free broadcast, moderators will conduct discussions with 6 expert panelists brought together from all corners of the earth to present the most current research and statistics concerning this trillion-dollar industry. Tune in live starting each Friday this August at 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This special presentation is being hosted by Casper Leitch on AmericanFreedomRadio.com.
1, 2, 3, 4. Get right to the point and roll me a joint. The marijuana polka. Find me a dove and we'll call it love. The marijuana polka. Flick me your mic and we'll get off real quick. The marijuana polka. My baby and I will get so high to the marijuana polka. Now roll me a smoke, yeah, give me a toke. The marijuana polka. Lock up the doors and we'll wax up the floors. The marijuana polka. Yeah, give me a line and we'll dance all night. The marijuana polka. My baby and I will get so high to the marijuana polka. Got your lid, now don't keep it hid. The marijuana polka. Come sing along and we'll load up the bomb. The marijuana polka. I roll up some cops and watch for the cops. The marijuana polka. My baby and I will get so high to the marijuana polka. Señorita, sí, sí, señorita, sí, sí. Marijuana polka. Federales on no, federales on no. La marihuana polka. Tequila es bien, panocha también. La marihuana polka. Mi linda y yo somos bichatos. La marihuana polka. Señorita, sí, sí, señorita, sí, sí. La marihuana polka.
listening to Time for Hemp live all around the world on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Big shout out to all of my friends up in Canada and say thank you to KDK Distributors and Head Shop Canada for all they do for helping us to raise the voice here at Time for Hemp. Also, a big shout out to the hardworking team at AmericanFreedomRadio.com. If you like this particular broadcast, you are sure to like the other programs that are found on this network. I love the Vinny Eastwood Show. I think it rocks. I also like Chris Green, an amazing individual. If you get a chance to listen to the programs, I certainly would encourage you to do so. You all know I like to occasionally do a rant, so I'm going to do just a little short rant right now. I tried to do this rant a couple times on Friday night and got cut off on another broadcast, so I'm not going to get cut off here. I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm a little under-impressed with this doctor on CNN who came trotting out with this big epiphany that marijuana has medical value. And to me, if you ask me, I don't know if anybody cares what I think, but I've actually seen the same material reported on 60 Minutes in 1992 when Mike Wallace and the team went running out to the Rickert family and did an interview with Tammy Rickert and her family and talked about how medical marijuana was a big help for them. During that broadcast, we saw the Mississippi farm. We heard about the little chemicals inside this little plant that are so valuable. We heard about the underground growing and all the very same thing that we heard last night on the Good Doctors program. Also heard the same thing when John Stossel reported it on 2020. Also heard the same thing on 48 Hours Before They Became a Murder Mystery Show. And I've also heard the same thing on a half a dozen documentaries that have been produced within the marijuana movement on medical marijuana. And in fact, I've heard the same thing on Paul Stanford's show several times on a Friday night when you tune in live, because Paul is brilliant and brings that material to his audience week in and week out. So it's sad, really sad, when a doctor who is supposed to be up to date on all the latest medical data and who is a journalist. And remember, as a journalist, by trade, you need to research each topic in depth before you report on it. That this learned doctor comes out and announces on a global broadcast that he has just learned what millions of other people have known for years and years and years. And he puts together a big special that, when it finally airs, is really just average when compared to the reports of John Stossel and Hugh Downs and Mike Wallace. This is the report he should have done the very first time he covered the topic of medical marijuana. And everybody, for some reason, seems so excited about this Johnny-come-lately. Why, I don't know, when the information has been available around the world and easy for anyone to access since the invention of the World Wide Web. Well, CNN, I am so glad that you have finally acquired the knowledge that everybody else has known for the last 20, 30, 40 years. Run on down the road with your epiphany and enlighten the other people who are just as lost in the dark as you. With that said, I want to thank my joint host, Mary Lynn and Al, for being on the big broadcast, along with our joint guest, Dr. Michelle Sexton. And I will hush up now and let our joint host take time for him.
Well, thanks, Casper. And I must say, I think in some of the promos for the show, I was hoping he was going to talk a little bit more about the endocannabinoid system to help explain some of this. But Dr. Sexton, I think, maybe if you could just talk a little bit about the fact of the cannabis as an herbal medicine, and the use of it as an herbal medicine compared to a lot of the kind of pharmaceutical drugs that most Americans are used to being prescribed all the time. Just kind of differentiating why a lot of people are turning more to some of these natural medicines.
Okay. I just wanted to point out that Dr. Harvey Wick-Felter, who was an eclectic physician, in 1922 published his eclectic Materia Medica, Pharmacology and Therapeutics, And cannabis was in this collection of plants. He said it had specific indications for marked nervous depression, irritation of the genitourinary tract, burning, frequent micturition, painful micturition with tenesmus, scalding urine, ardor urinae, wakefulness and fevers, insomnia with brief periods of sleep disturbed by unpleasant dreams, spasmodic and painful conditions with depression, mental illusions, hallucinations, cerebral anemia from spasm of cerebral vessels, palpation of the heart with sharp stitching pain, and menstrual headache with great nervous depression. So there were doctors, who discovered this a long time ago and had been using cannabis as a whole plant, often in an extract. We knew that it was being used in its resinous form as hash or hashish, which, of course, they figured out was a concentrate a long time ago. It was also being extracted, in oils and alcohols during that time, and being used alongside other herbal medicines. And I think, what sort of makes it more distinct from a lot of herbal medicines is the presence of THC, delta-9 THC, and how upon heating it becomes this compound that, acting at CB1 receptors, causes a lot of the experience around it. And there aren't a lot of herbs that you take that you get a strong experience like that. We are more used to that today with pharmaceutical medicines. For example, most people are common with using ibuprofen, and you take it, and, within an hour or two, you have relief from pain, so very strong pharmacologic action. And the presence of delta-9 THC gave this particular plant a very strong action, and the experience surrounding it, the entire central nervous system experience of reality when those CB1 receptors are hit changes, and our perception of the world around us changes. And for the most part, people find that very pleasant and desirable as a quote-unquote side effect. But this actual change in our perception is probably strongly related to pain relief. There's actual pain relief that occurs on peripheral receptors, but there's also a central mechanism by which our perception of pain changes. So very interesting plant because of that. And as I was learning in pharmacology about, in the lab, we experimented with isolated compounds. We were using synthetic cannabinoids. We were using plant cannabinoids. We used the endogenous cannabinoids. Interestingly, we know that our two major endogenous cannabinoids, if they are given in high dose to animals, produce the same effect in the animal as giving the animal a dose of THC. So our body is constantly producing these compounds. We just don't normally have them at a really high dose. It has been proposed that in times of intense pain, for instance, childbirth and being in labor, that AEA levels go up, probably along with endogenous opiates as a natural form of pain relief. So all of that was very interesting to me, learning how they bind at receptors, what is the mechanism of action once it hits the receptor, and the internal workings of the cell, and all of those responses. And there was no denying that there was therapeutic efficacy. And then looking, outside the window of University of Washington, and here are these people conducting a massive uncontrolled clinical trial on some of the effects that we were studying. And it made sense to me as a sort of a bridge to take what I knew and take it back to the whole plant. So the first thing that I did was to open an analytical lab. I had done some plant analysis using analytical equipment, and I was really curious about what was out there, what people were using, how potent was it? Was there the presence of the secondary compound produced by the plant known as cannabidiol or CBD. So I went out and opened a lab and started offering laboratory analysis, and so really started learning more about the plant itself that way. And in addition, Sunil Agarwal, who had received his MD PhD at the University of Washington, introduced me to the medical community by introducing me to some patients, some patient grower network systems. And so I left the university after my postdoc and then just started being really submersed in this very different world from the pharmacological world. And it really has just stimulated my imagination about the plant.
Well, of course, Sunil's on Patients at a Time's board of directors, and I can imagine that he drafted you in. You would be a real pick for him to go find somebody like you to help him with his work. Listen, I'm curious, the lab you worked in, when were you there, and when did your physician in charge of that lab actually begin that work? When did NIH get curious about the endocannabinoid system?
I submitted my proposal to the NIH in 2008. And the interesting thing about research is that it's not uncommon that what you propose to do and what you actually end up doing and reporting on are not the same thing. So what I actually proposed to do was to investigate the endocannabinoid signaling system in patients with multiple sclerosis and giving them high therapeutic doses of fish oil, because my theory was that.
As you can tell by the sound of the music, we gotta stop and take a commercial break. We'll be right back after this here on Time for Hemp.
It's time for hemp prohibition to end. The cannabis legalization movement has long waited to have congressional or Senate hearings to present the failure of drug prohibition, medical benefits of cannabis, and more. Time for Hemp is tired of waiting for the cannabis movement to get such an invitation and has organized this 5 2-hour conference series special. Time for Hemp will be hosting live specials to produce a global cannabis summit with some of the most brilliant minds and amazing leaders of the industrial hemp and medical cannabis movement. This presentation will be broadcasted live on American Freedom Radio, online, AM/FM stations across America, and on Roku, and will be archived at American Freedom Radio and on iTunes. During each commercial-free broadcast, moderators will conduct discussions with 6 expert panelists brought together from all corners of the earth to present the most current research and statistics concerning this trillion-dollar industry. Tune in live starting each Friday this August at 9 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This special presentation is being hosted by Casper Leitch on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
Green Glass Clean is a 100% green liquid cleaner that is designed to wash the toughest resin stains from pipes, bongs, and hookahs. Green Glass Clean is safe to use on glass, plastic, ceramic, wood, and about anything you smoke from, so you can enjoy the full flavor of your smoke. Green Glass Clean is easy to use. Just dilute a small amount, then soak, rinse, and dry. Green Glass Clean will gently dissolve any stuck-on crud from your pipe, keeping your smoking gear fresh and clean. Order Green Glass Clean at greenglassclean.com. GacaTac.com. And for those stubborn, hard-to-reach resin spots that just won't come off, there is the GacaTac Brush Pack. GacaTac Brush Pack keeps your smoking gear clean and looking shiny. The tough yet gentle nylon bristles scrub and scrape buildups and residue with ease. Wire-braided handle bends for easy maneuvering without damaging your smoking apparatus. Using the GacaTac Brush Pack with Green Glass Clean will keep your pipes, bongs, and hookahs clean. Order your GacaTac Brush Pack by going to GacaTac.com.
THCF Medical Clinics are the premier physicians clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Today podcast, and on the Time for Hemp Today podcast, we like to put a spotlight on hardworking activists from all around the world and include a little bit of music. And we're going to get back to the program here in just a minute, but a friend of mine, Kelly Christian from KDK Distributors, wants to make a special announcement to all the members of the audience of Time for Hemp. And Kelly, why don't you let people know all about that?
You betcha. We're lucky enough to be able to offer some totally 100% free vaporizers, high-quality vaporizers, to medical patients anywhere in the world who cannot afford one on their own. As I know, and probably most of you do who are listening, those on assisted income or disability pension, whatever the case may be, they can't work, they're ill, and they medicate with marijuana and find it difficult to be able to purchase a quality vaporizer. So it's super simple. If either you yourself or you can send one in for someone who you think might be very happy to receive a free vaporizer, send me an email with a little bit of information about the individual and, of course, a photograph, because we do publish the winners in Treating Yourself magazine, and send it to Kelly, Kelly, at kdkwholesale.ca. And once we receive it, we put it in our really small barrel and pick people out. Well, I have to say, in all honesty, we've doubled our giveaway thanks to the guys down at Vape, and of course our ongoing relationship with the great folks at Herbal Air that have been with us since the beginning on this program. And, you know, we've doubled our giveaways, so I'm hoping that we can double our entries, because I got to tell you, in all honesty, we're starting to run low. So come on, you people out there. I know that there are just thousands of you, and please, you know, can send in something, and because I'm telling you, we sure love giving them away, and we know it does great things. And you know, thanks to both Herbal Air for originating the program and Vape for coming along, doubling our free vaporizer output.
And Kelly, I tell you, you are remarkable, very amazing. I've been uploading the past live shows into the Time for Hemp iTunes live podcast. You can find it for free on iTunes. All 3 years I'm getting them loaded up. Boy, it's a chore, but I'm making it happen. And I realized, my gosh, Kelly, I think you came on board like the third or fourth week that we went live on AmericanFreedomRadio.com back in 2009. You have been a backbone to this series, as well as the movement. And honestly, Kelly, this show would not be anywhere the strength it is, would not have anywhere the size of audience that it has, and our guests would not be heard as loudly as they are heard had it not been for the support of you and the amazing team at KDK. So
we've really made some difference in a lot of people's lives out there. It's not the fact that they actually save money because it reduces their need to use medical marijuana, because it reduces because it's way more efficient, and it reduces their consumption, so they save money. But also it's phenomenal for left. So please keep your letters coming in, and let anybody you know, or any compassion clubs, or dispensaries or anything, let them know that this exists, and hopefully we can continue the program.
Because it is much, much healthier to vaporize than it is to burn and smoke, baby, huh?
Without question. Well, there are well over 20 carcinogens created by combustion, and of course they're eliminated. No rolling paper glue, no butane from a lighter. So yes, from a health perspective, it is a substantial improvement in terms of getting that medication into your body.
Well, Kelly, I want to thank you on behalf of the marijuana movement for your graciousness to make certain that people who are sick and need a healthy way to take their medication can do so. I also want to remind people that you can find all 4 of our podcasts up in the iTunes, and that is a great way to share these podcasts with all your friends all around the world. We have the Time for Hemp Music Podcast, Time for Hemp Classic Podcast, Time for Hemp Live podcast, and then the podcast that you are currently listening to, the Time for Hemp Today podcast, all found at iTunes. Also, if you go to timeforhemp.com, that's the number 4, timeforhemp.com, you can find lots of videos that you can download for free. There are segments of the original Time for Hemp TV series found there. Also, I've done interviews over the past couple of years at the Seattle Hemp Fest and the Portland Hemp Stock, and those are found there, as well are segments that I have been the joint host of on Cannabis Common Sense with Paul Stanford, who is the joint host on Time for Hemp Live every Thursday on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Well, we're going to listen to some music right now, and then we're going to come back and take a whole lot more Time for Hemp.
Hear this. Hey, Mary Jane, no one wants to see you one time again. Hey, Mary Jane, looking for you and call your name. Once upon a time, you girl so fine, she was the kind who blow your mind. Hey, Mary Jane, never run, I'm like a fly in a ooh-ay, trying to get up, but getting more wrapped up instead. Then she is about me and the venom is inside. Everything'll be alright. Everything'll be alright. Hey, Mary Jane, she's the one you just can't tame. Hey, Mary Jane, being without you just ain't the same. She had red hair and kill stare. She dressed in green, you know what I mean. Hey, Mary Jane, never run, I'm like a fly in a ooh-ay, trying to get up, but getting more wrapped up instead. Then she is about me and the venom is inside. Everything'll be alright. Everything'll be alright. Hey, Mary Jane, just can't get you out of my brain. Hey, Mary Jane, hope you let me play your game. Smell her perfume, fill the room, smooth way she walks and the lyrics she told. Hey, Mary Jane, whenever I'm around, I'm like a fly in a ooh-ay, trying to get up, but getting more wrapped up instead. And she is about me and the venom is inside. Everything'll be alright. Everything'll be alright.
I'm kinda high, let me excuse myself. but it seems like it's just moments since we met. I'm kinda high, let me introduce myself.
Yeah, baby, let me introduce myself. My name, Casper Leitch. The program you're listening to live is called Time for Hemp. My joint guest is Dr. Michelle Sexton, and my joint hosts are Lynn, Mathre, and Al Byren. And anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast here on American Freedom Radio, you know that 2 million people all around the world are packing their bowls, their pipes, and their vaporizers and taking time for hemp. I'm sorry I did not do a smooth intro into the last commercial break. I was so intrigued and interested in what Dr. Sexton was talking about that I completely forgot to do my job. Please forgive me. I pass the ball back to my joint host here on Time for Hemp.
Hey, Dr. Al here. Please continue with your words on the NIH grant, but we are running out of time, and I do want you to address the book, the Cannabis Monograph, that you helped to draft. Everyone should know about that, and that would be new information for most of our listeners.
Yes, I do want to talk about that, and I'll wrap up what I was saying and answer your question, Al, by saying I finished my postdoctoral fellowship in September of 2011, and soon thereafter, started the laboratory, which was called Phytolytics, and started doing laboratory analysis, becoming more involved with the patients, becoming more politically involved, because it just didn't make sense that something with so much therapeutic value was being so suppressed. And it's only one plant that's being suppressed, by the way. And I got invited to join in with Americans for Safe Access, first on their scientific advisory board, and now I'm on the national board for Americans for Safe Access Foundation. And so Steph Scherer, the executive director, and I started brainstorming, and I really felt like I was in the position of some sort of bridge as a naturopathic doctor, bridging over to pharmacology, as knowing something about pharmacology and bridging that knowledge gap with the use of whole plants, specifically cannabis. And it occurred to me that cannabis doesn't need to be pharmaceuticalized. It needed to be brought in to the pharmacopoeia with other plant medicines. And so Steph was in touch with Roy Upton, the executive director and editor of the American Herbal Pharmacopoeia. He's also co-founder and past president of the American Herbalist Guild and an all-around amazing human being. And Steph helped to get some money together to start producing the American Herbal Pharmacopoeia Cannabis Monograph. I think it will be the 33rd monograph published by the AHP. It is so large that that's not the only reason, but it's going to be actually in two parts. Most of the monographs are all in one booklet. This one is going to have one booklet that is standards of identity, analysis, and quality control. And this is being accelerated partially because the state of Washington has adopted this document for guidance for Initiative 502 for recreational quality control of cannabis in Washington State. And we hope that it'll be a guideline for other states that are starting to bring quality control to medical cannabis. And the second part is a therapeutic compendium. This will be the most up-to-date review of not only the authoritative historical literature on medical use of the plant, but also the most up-to-date comprehensive review of modern clinical trials. And, this includes safety, adverse effects, contraindications, interactions with other medications, use in pregnancy. It'll be an amazing overview. So these two documents will be produced separately. We're hoping the guidance for regulators on quality control, I think it's just a few weeks shy of coming out. The therapeutic compendium is going to be a little bit later. This has been one of the biggest undertakings Roy has ever embarked upon in terms of a plant. When I asked him if there had been a bigger one, he said the only one bigger or as big with garlic. So it's very exciting to me that having been kicked out of the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, that we have now rolled out the green carpet cannabis in the American Herbal Pharmacopoeia. And the other thing that happened when Steph and I had these conversations about bringing it into mainstream, complementary alternative medicine or natural medicine, was the American Herbal Products Association was interested in partnering with the herbal product industry of cannabis to bring their knowledge and expertise to the emerging medical cannabis industry. And so they put together 4 committees. They produced a series of documents on cultivation, manufacturing, packaging, labeling, and holding, distribution, and analytics, so guide for analytical laboratories, that all sort of come together as recommendations for regulators or policy guidance, as well as industry guidance. And through those partnerships of Americans for Safe Access, the end result, and another end result of that, is a program by ASA called Patients First. And you can go to the Americans for Safe Access website, read about Patients First, and it's a certification program. So, individuals, businesses who are in states where medical cannabis laws are emerging or being developed can become certified through this Patients First program. And I think there will be 4 different areas of certification for cultivation, manufacturing, packaging, labeling, dispensary operations, and analytical laboratories. So an independent third-party professional certification for this industry.
Yeah, Patients Out of Time has been working to that too, to get certification for dispensary workers, dispensary owners and managers, certainly the healthcare workers, the RNs that may be employed there. And just a heads up, Patients Out of Time, as part of the, I'm sure ASA has this, but just part of the case that's now going forward to the Supreme Court that a bunch of us are involved in about rescheduling cannabis. Patients Out of Time does have about 100,000 pages of science on one DVD set. I think it covers 8 or 10 DVDs. But make sure that your friends that are working towards this compendium know of our work, and we'll be glad to contribute it.
Oh, thank you.
Well, please, could you give us some URLs of, everybody knows what ASA is, but is there anything else you'd like to call the attention? The Herbalist Association, anybody interested in that would contact them how?
What happened to the lab with the cannabis you had?
With the cannabis monograph, I know you were asking, Mary, when you could get that, and I can't give you an exact date. The last I heard, it was maybe 3 weeks shy. I would just be watching the American Herbal Pharmacopoeia website, and, I'm sure ASA will announce it on their website, Facebook pages, and hopefully it'll be out, in the near future. Again, the clinical piece or the therapeutic compendium, it's just taken a bit longer. It's really hard. Roy typically uses experts in the field from around the world. So these are, PhDs usually working in research at institutions, and they have very little time for volunteerism. So just rounding them up and getting them to write, or what I've been doing a lot of is reworking or editing things they have already written, into the format that the Pharmacopoeia wants it to be in. So it's a tremendous amount of work, and it's taken, the generosity of a lot of different funders to make this happen. I think it will be, I just think, my impression is that it'll be a big player in, changing things and improving quality assurance and quality control across the industry.
Oh yeah, and it also opens the debate again and again. We've heard it, but this is a plant. This is not a drug. This is a plant that is treated as a drug. It's a food as well, and to treat it as a drug slowly is misleading everybody. Just like Gupta said, without much conviction.
Well, we are down to the last minute and a half or so, so this is an excellent opportunity to give out a shout-out to URLs and any events you want to put a spotlight on. Michelle?
This weekend, coming up is Hemp Fest in Seattle, and there will be a lot of, important people and knowledgeable people speaking at this event. And, if you're near or around Seattle, come check it out. There's a symposium tent that's focused on education specifically. So coming up.
And Mary Lynn Al?
And Casper will be there. He's people that's going to speak. And we have our one of our cohorts, Dr. David Ostro, will be there, Michelle. You need to find him and have a conversation with Dr. David. And for all of you that are looking for information, check out medicalcannabis.com.
And I also want to remind people that you can find this in iTunes. Every day you go to timeforhemp.com. You can listen to the most current broadcast from this website and share it with your friends. All of our archives are being loaded into timeforhemp.com. And, of course, you can find us on Spreaker and Tumblr and SoundCloud so that you can enjoy us in your smartphones and share us with your friends. And remember, the next time you hear me, you'll know that it's time for hemp.
The money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for hemp. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, time for hemp! Yeah!